Missing a flight is one of the most stressful experiences in modern travel, and the moments immediately following it are the moments that determine whether you pay hundreds of dollars unnecessarily or walk to your rebooked flight at no additional cost. Airlines have structured their customer service environments to minimize the information they proactively share in those moments, because the options that cost you the most money are frequently the options that are presented first, most clearly, and most confidently. What you do in the 30 minutes after missing a flight determines the financial and logistical outcome almost entirely. Here is what the airlines won't tell you unless you ask the right questions. The flat tire rule. The policy airlines don't advertise. Most major U.S. airlines maintain an informal operational policy that the industry refers to as the flat tire rule. A grace period protocol that allows passengers who miss a flight due to circumstances outside their control to be rebooked on the next available departure on the same route at no additional charge, without invoking the formal change fee structure. The flat tire rule is not published in most airlines' official fare rules or customer service policies in a form that passengers can easily reference. It exists as an operational guideline that gate agents and customer service representatives have discretion to apply, which means it is applied inconsistently, available more reliably to passengers who ask for it specifically, and functionally invisible to passengers who don't know it exists. The circumstances that typically qualify: traffic delays, accidents on roads to the airport, public transportation failures, and arriving at the airport within 2 hours of the scheduled departure time. Airlines that most consistently honor flat tire rule rebooking include Delta, American, and United, though the application depends on the individual agent, the load factor on available flights, and whether you frame the request correctly. The framing matters significantly. "I missed my flight because of traffic" positions you as explaining rather than requesting. "I need to be rebooked under the flat tire rule on the next available departure" positions you as a passenger who knows what policy applies and is requesting its application. The second framing generates better outcomes consistently, not because agents respond to authority, but because specific policy requests trigger specific policy responses rather than discretionary customer service judgments. Same-day change versus rebooking. The $200 difference. Airlines distinguish internally between same-day flight changes, which carry specific fees and specific eligibility rules, and missed flight rebooking, which triggers different fare rules. Most passengers who miss a flight are offered rebooking under the missed flight policy without being told that same-day change options, which may be cheaper or free depending on their fare class, are simultaneously available. Delta's same-day change program allows passengers on full fare tickets and medallion members to move to an earlier or later same-day flight for $75 or free, depending on status. American's same-day change program similarly allows confirmed same-day changes for $75 or free for A-Advantage Elite members. United's program mirrors this structure. The critical detail: same-day change and missed flight rebooking are processed through different systems with different fee structures. A passenger who has missed their flight by minutes may still qualify for same-day change processing if the customer service agent processes it before the original departure time passes in the system, a narrow window that passengers who move immediately to customer service can sometimes still access. Move immediately. Every minute spent at the departure gate after realizing you've missed a flight is a minute of option availability expiring in the airline systems. The rebooking desk, the customer service counter, and the airline's app are all working against a time clock that most passengers don't realize is running. The app is often faster than the line. The customer service line that forms at the gate after a flight boards without you frequently contains 20 to 40 passengers who all missed the same connection or the same departure. The agent working that line is processing passengers sequentially. The airline's app is processing your request in parallel with every other passenger's request, limited only by available seat inventory. Open the airline's app the moment you realize you have missed or will miss your flight. Navigate to the Manage Booking section and look for same-day change options, standby listing options, and rebooking options simultaneously. In many cases, available flights that the gate agent would offer you are visible and bookable directly in the app, without waiting in line, without a change fee for eligible fare classes, and sometimes with more flight options visible than the agent at the counter would proactively present. The app rebooking advantage has a limit. App systems don't apply flat tire rule exceptions, don't process fee waivers for extraordinary circumstances, and don't have access to the discretionary customer service options that human agents can apply. Use the app to identify available options and lock in a seat on the best available alternative. Then go to the customer service counter to request fee waivers or better alternatives with your already secured backup booking in hand. Having a confirmed backup gives you negotiating position that standing in line without a booking doesn't. Interline agreements. Getting on a competitor's flight. When your airline cannot get you to your destination within an acceptable time frame, particularly for international connections or routes with limited frequency, they have contractual interline agreements with partner and competing carriers that allow them to rebook you on a different airline's flight at no additional cost to you. This option is almost never proactively offered. Rebooking you on a competitor's flight requires the gate agent or customer service representative to initiate an interline rebooking process that takes more time than rebooking you on their own next available flight. The path of least resistance for the airline is always their own inventory. The best outcome for you is sometimes a competitor's flight that departs in 2 hours versus your airline's next available flight tomorrow morning. The request that unlocks this option: what interline partners can you rebook me on for the earliest available arrival at my destination? This specific question signals that you know the option exists and are requesting its consideration. For passengers on full-fare tickets, confirmed interline rebooking on partner carriers is a standard contractual right in most fare rules. It is simply a right that airlines rely on most passengers not knowing to invoke. Airline alliances inform which interline options are most accessible. Star Alliance carriers rebook across United, Lufthansa, Air Canada, and others. SkyTeam carriers rebook across Delta, Air France, KLM, and others. One World carriers rebook across American, British Airways, Qantas, and others. Knowing your airline's alliance before you travel gives you a prepared answer when the interline conversation begins. The standby list. Underused and misunderstood. Passengers who miss flights assume they need a confirmed seat on a future departure before they can travel. They don't. Every airline maintains a standby system that allows passengers to list for earlier flights, including flights that show as full in the booking system and board when confirmed passengers don't show up, cancel last minute, or when the airline oversold a departure and needs to manage the load. Standby travel is less reliable than a confirmed booking, but on high-frequency routes, the New York to Chicago, Los Angeles to San Francisco, Dallas to Houston corridors, standby success rates can be high enough that listing for 3 consecutive departures gives a high probability of making at least one within a few hours of missing the original. The standby listing request is simple. Can you list me as a standby passenger on the next 3 departures to my destination? Most agents will do this alongside or instead of confirming a future booking. Being on the standby list costs nothing in most circumstances for same-day missed flight situations, and it runs in parallel with any confirmed future booking you secure, meaning you have 2 paths to your destination running simultaneously. The standby boarding process is gate-specific. Once listed, you must be physically present at the departure gate at or before the boarding cutoff time for each flight you're listed on, not the terminal. The gate. Standby passengers who are in the terminal, but not at the gate when the certain emikim is called, lose the seat to the next passenger on the list. Delay caused missed connections. Your rights are different. There is a significant legal and contractual distinction between missing a flight because you were late to the airport and missing a connection because your inbound flight was delayed. In the second scenario, the airline bears responsibility for the missed connection under standard conditions of carriage, and your rebooking rights are substantially stronger than in the voluntary missed flight scenario. When an airline-caused delay produces a missed connection, the carrier is obligated to rebook you on the next available flight to your destination at no charge, including on partner carriers when their own inventory cannot provide timely rebooking. This obligation exists regardless of your fare class, regardless of whether you booked a basic economy ticket, and regardless of whether the delay was within the airline's control. Weather delays produce the same rebooking rights as mechanical delays in most U.S. carriers' conditions of carriage. The additional rights in delay-caused missed connections that airlines don't proactively communicate. Meal vouchers for delays exceeding specific thresholds at airports where the airline has a presence, hotel accommodation for overnight delays caused by carrier-controllable events, and transportation vouchers between the airport and the hotel. These accommodations are not automatic. They require a specific request at the customer service counter with explicit reference to the carrier-caused nature of the delay. European Union regulations provide additional protections for flights departing EU airports or arriving into EU airports on EU-based carriers. Compensation payments for significant delays under EASE 261/2004 that can reach €600 per passenger, depending on flight distance and delay duration. US-based travelers on qualifying itineraries are entitled to these protections and can claim them after travel through the airline's formal compensation process or through third-party claim services that process EC 261 claims on a contingency fee basis. Travel insurance and credit card benefits. The resources you already have. A significant percentage of travelers who miss flights and pay change fees out of pocket are carrying travel insurance or credit card travel protections that would have covered those costs if claimed correctly. The coverage goes unclaimed because travelers don't realize it applies to their situation or don't know the claims process. Travel insurance policies with trip interruption coverage typically cover additional transportation costs required to complete your journey when a covered event, illness, accident, weather, carrier-caused delay, produces a missed connection or departure. The coverage doesn't require a catastrophic event, a documented traffic accident that caused you to miss your flight, a medical situation that delayed your departure, or a significant weather event affecting your route can all qualify depending on your policy terms. Credit card travel protections. Available on Chase Sapphire, American Express Platinum, Capital One Venture X, and similar premium travel cards, include trip delay insurance that activates when your travel is delayed beyond a threshold typically set at 6 to 12 hours. Benefits include reimbursement for meals, accommodation, and in some cases ground transportation during the delay period, with coverage limits ranging from $500 to $1,000 per incident depending on the card. The claims process requires documentation: your original itinerary, evidence of the disruption, a police report for an accident, a physician note for a medical event, weather service documentation for weather events, receipts for covered expenses, and your rebooking confirmation. Documentation gathered at the time of the disruption is substantially easier to assemble than documentation reconstructed after the fact. Take photographs, save screenshots, and request written documentation from airline agents confirming the delay or missed flight circumstances before you leave the airport. The phone number that bypasses the airport line. When the customer service line at your departure gate contains 30 passengers and one agent, the wait time to reach the counter can exceed 45 minutes. Long enough for available seats on the next departure to fill with passengers who called ahead while standing in line. Every major US airline has a dedicated customer service phone number that connects to agents who have access to the same rebooking systems as airport agents, can apply the same fee waivers, and can process the same interline requests. Calling while standing in the airport customer service line means you are simultaneously in two queues, and whichever reaches an agent first can be used to secure your rebooking while the other continues as a backup. Elite status members have dedicated phone lines with substantially shorter wait times than general customer service numbers. If you have status on the airline you're flying, use the Elite line before any other contact method. The difference in wait time between the general customer service line and the Elite line during irregular operations can be 40 to 60 minutes, which during a high-demand rebooking situation can be the difference between available seats and wait lists. International travelers have access to country-specific airline phone numbers that often have shorter wait times than US domestic numbers during US-originating disruption events, because the call volume on international lines is lower during domestic peak disruption periods. These numbers are listed on airline websites under international contact information and can be called from any country on a US SIM. What to say? The exact language that works. Airline customer service interactions produce better outcomes for passengers who use specific, policy referencing language versus passengers who describe their situation and wait for the agent to respond with options. This is not about being aggressive or demanding. It is about speaking the operational language that triggers specific policy responses. The flat tire rule request. I need to be rebooked under the flat tire policy on the next available departure. I arrived at the airport within 2 hours of my scheduled departure time due to a traffic situation outside my control. The interline rebooking request. I need to explore interline rebooking options on your alliance partners for the earliest available arrival. Can you check availability across your partner carriers? The delay compensation request. My connection was missed due to a carrier-caused delay on my inbound flight. I need rebooking on the next available departure, including partner carriers, and I'd like to request the meal and accommodation vouchers applicable to carrier-caused overnight delays. The standby request. Can you add me to the standby list for the next 3 departures to my destination while we confirm a backup booking? None of these requests are aggressive. All of them reference specific policies and specific options that the agent has the system access and the authority to process. The difference between a passenger who receives these options and one who doesn't is almost always the knowledge to ask for them, not the agent's willingness to provide them when asked. The airport customer service environment is designed around passengers who don't know their options. The first option presented is frequently the most convenient for the airline to process, not the best available for the passenger. The fee structures are real, but waivable under documented circumstances that most passengers experience and don't invoke. The interline options, the flat tire rule, the standby lists, the credit card protections, and the compensation frameworks all exist and are accessible to passengers who know they exist. A missed flight is a solvable problem in the large majority of cases. The solution almost always costs less than the airline's initial offer suggests and reaches your destination faster than the airline's first available booking implies. The gap between the first option presented and the best option available is bridged by knowing what questions to ask and asking them immediately, specifically, and calmly before the available inventory that makes those questions answerable disappears. If this changes what you do the next time a travel disruption puts you at a customer service counter, share it with someone who travels and hasn't seen it yet. Subscribe for travel intelligence that closes the information gap between airlines and passengers. Drop a comment telling us about a missed flight situation where knowing these options would have changed your outcome.